It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 8 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be talking about Season 8, Episode 4, and a comic reference in that episode about Ezekiel's future. So obviously there's going to be some comic spoilers in this video. The comic spoilers are going to be somewhat major, so if you don't want to know anything about it, or if you don't follow the comics, then this would be a great time for you to stop watching this video and maybe go watch another one of my videos for Season 8. So this is your official spoiler warning for the comic book. In 3, 2, 1. So in the last episode, if you remember, there was this one savior that had captured Ezekiel, and he was basically taunting him and talking to him about what he was going to do to him. And at the last moment, when we had the savior get cut in half by Jerry, which was epic, he says something very interesting. So he says, Negan was hoping to have your ass chained to the sanctuary fence. You, the widow, Rick. But your head on a pike will do just fine. So let's first talk about what this means in the context of this episode and this season. Negan had ordered all of the saviors, if they capture Rick, Ezekiel, or the widow, who is Maggie, they should not kill them. He wants them alive. Negan wants the saviors to bring these 3 leaders back so Negan can kill them himself and chain them as walkers to the fence of the sanctuary as a way to show the enemies or the people that oppose him what would come of them if they follow with the route that these 3 leaders went. But then when he finds out that that's not going to happen, he cannot take Ezekiel back alive, and it would risk his life more to do that. He basically says, your head on a pike will do just fine. So what that means is that he's going to decapitate Ezekiel's head and bring it to Negan, and he's going to put the head, which of course would still be a walker head because the brain has not been damaged, so he would put the walker head of Ezekiel on a pike in front of the sanctuary. Now, if you're a comic reader, there's a reference that pops out and it's impossible to miss. How did Ezekiel die in the comics? When the Whisperers showed up, they put his head on a spike or a pike or a wood, whatever, along with other decapitated head as a way to show that this is the border that Rick and the surviving communities should not cross. Now, in here, we have this savior saying, your head on a pike will do just fine. Now, the just fine part of it is irrelevant, but when he says, your head on a pike, that's a direct reference to Ezekiel's comic fate and how he's going to die in the comics. So they're basically teasing it, and this is the most they've teased it so far. And at this point, I think it's safe to bet that Ezekiel will follow with his comic arc, and he will get that same death from the comics. Now, this is not the first time that they have actually teased Ezekiel's death, but the last time they did it, it was not explicit. It was more subtle. If you remember one of the promotional photos that we got from Season 7, there was one where we had this head on a pike. And obviously when we visited the sanctuary, we found out that this was a walker head on a pike. And it had nothing to do with Ezekiel. But the way that image was shot was there to mirror Ezekiel's death scene. And in my opinion, that was an indirect reference to his death. But this time, we have a direct reference to Ezekiel's death. Now, one connection that you can make with that photo is that that decapitated head that was in front of the sanctuary may be the head of a leader who opposed Negan and went against him. But in that case, he lost and ended up having his head on a pike, which would have been exactly what would have happened to Ezekiel if Jerry was not there to save the day. But I thought this reference was a pretty cool one. I really liked this one, but like I said, with this reference, it's starting to look more and more like Ezekiel is going to get his comic arc and his comic death. They're actually planting everything already, with him losing his people, to him losing Shiva, to him basically saying that I'm not a king anymore, and losing himself in terms of him being a leader a little bit, and basically go to a direction where Ezekiel doesn't feel powerful anymore. So they've already kind of planted everything like that. So it's starting to look more and more like Ezekiel is going to get his comic arc and his death. But I want to know everybody's opinions about this comic reference and whether you think it was an actual reference. In my opinion, it was 100% a reference, but I want to know everybody's opinions about this. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.